Welcome to Page to Pulse, the emotional heartbeat behind the story. I'm your host, Allyson Collins. Welcome to Page to Pulse. I'm your host, Allyson Collins. And today we're discussing one of the most anticipated films in years, the Michael Jackson biopic. But this episode isn't simply about the king of pop. It's about childhood. It's about pressure. It's about parents. It's about abuse. It's about growing up in Gary, Indiana, my hometown. And it's about understanding the human being behind one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived. Michael Jackson's story has inspired millions, but it has also raised difficult conversations about family dynamics, perfectionism, trauma, fame, and the emotional cost of greatness. Today, we'll explore those issues and reflect on the lessons we can learn. As someone from Northwest Indiana, I find it impossible not to appreciate the significance of Michael Jackson's roots. Before these sold out stadiums, before Thriller, before the moonwalk, which I learned how to do both backwards and sidewards, there was Gary, Indiana, a steel town, working class neighborhoods, families trying to survive, dreams bigger than the circumstances surrounding them. The Jackson family lived modestly. 9 children cramped into a small home. Money wasn't plentiful, but talent certainly was. Music became both an escape and a pathway towards something larger. For many Black families during that particular era, discipline, hard work, and sacrifice were viewed as necessities for survival. Joseph Jackson saw an extraordinary gifts in his children, and he pushed them relentlessly. And some people may think that he pushed them a little too much. That push would create greatness, but it would also come with consequences. This part of Michael's story is difficult. Throughout his life, Michael spoke openly about the emotional pain he experienced as a child. He described being afraid of his father. He described humiliation. He described harsh discipline. And these experiences shaped him long after childhood. Many survivors of abuse grow up believing that love must be earned, that mistakes are unacceptable, that perfection equals acceptance. And unfortunately, trauma doesn't disappear simply because success arrives. Success can hide pain. Money cannot heal childhood wounds. Awards do not erase memories. Fame does not replace affection. The world saw Michael Jackson, the superstar. But behind the scenes was someone who often seemed to be searching for peace, acceptance, and the childhood he never really experienced. These conversations aren't about assigning hatred, they're about understanding. Because trauma passed down from one generation can continue unless healing interrupts the cycle. One thing I appreciate about conversations surrounding the Jackson family is that life is rarely black and white. Parents are human. Many parents raise children the way they themselves were raised. Joseph Jackson came from a different generation, a generation where toughness was survival, where emotions were suppressed, where fathers believed discipline was love. But intentions and impact are not always the same. Someone may believe they are helping and still cause harm. That's a truth many families struggle to confront. And perhaps one of the greatest lessons we can take from Michael's life is that breaking generational cycles require courage. Healing requires honesty, and love should never require fear. Something many fans have noticed is that Janet Jackson, who happens to be my favorite artist, and Rebe Jackson do not appear to have major roles within the story. And, unfortunately, that was very unfortunate because those two women of the Jackson family were often being overlooked. It's unfortunate because those women were being overlooked, and I don't understand that, the women of the family, how they were overlooked because they all presented with talent. Rebe, the eldest Jackson, provided stability and support throughout the family. Janet went on to become a global icon in her own right. And their stories matter. Their perspectives matter, and perhaps future documentaries or films will allow audiences to explore their experiences more deeply. LaToya was portrayed in the film, didn't have a major role in the film, because every family story has multiple voices. And sometimes the voices we hear the least are equally important. Imagine becoming famous before you truly understand who you are. Imagine living under the microscope of the entire world. Imagine having every success celebrated and every mistake amplified. Imagine being expected to remain extraordinary every single day. That kind of pressure would break many people. Michael Jackson gave the world unforgettable music. But greatness often carries loneliness. And perhaps that's why songs like Man in the Mirror continue to resonate. Because at the heart of all the fame, Michael's message often came back to compassion, healing, and change. One of my favorite scenes in the movie was when he when he united the Bloods and the Crips, and they came together, and they actually were part of his film project, in Beat It. And so that was very profound and so unheard of. But he reached out to these gang members and brought them together. The Michael Jackson story is not about just music. It's about family. It's about childhood. It's about dreams. It's about sacrifice. It's about trauma. And ultimately, it's about humanity. Perhaps that's why his story still moves us decades later. Because somewhere inside all of us is the child who wanted approval, the child who wanted love, the child who wanted to be seen. My hope is that conversations surrounding this film encourage empathy, that they encourage healing, and that they remind us that greatness should never come at the expense of peace. Thank you for joining me on Page to Pulse. If this episode resonated with you, please follow, share, and leave a review. Until next time, keep turning pages into pulse. I'm Allyson Collins. Thanks for listening to Page to Pulse. I'm Allyson Collins, and it's been an honor exploring the stories that ignite the screen and leap off the page. If today's episode moved you, follow and leave a review. Until next time, keep turning pages, keep watching closely, and never stop chasing the story.